What was the cause of the U.S. Civil War? Check this out.
What was the cause of the Civil War, the U.S. Civil War in the 1800s?
What was the cause of the Civil War?
What do you think the cause of the Civil War was?
I don't know.
What would you say is the cause of the Civil War?
The Civil War? What caused the Civil War? They mostly, I'm thinking of the first war when we became Americans.
And then we had a Civil War. What do you think caused our Civil War?
Sin, I suppose, you know. There was something evil. Mankind is hard on each other, man. Yeah.
And what do you think, sir, was the cause of the United States Civil War?
Of the Civil War? Well, let's see. The North and South, they couldn't get along. It could happen here, too.
Do you think we're near that?
Hear what?
Do you think we're getting toward a Civil War again?
The good Lord only knows, but I think, you know, if he thought it was going to end up this way, people are supposed to get along, aren't we? We're all Americans, not just Democrats and Republicans.
What do you think is the cause of the Civil War, the U.S. Civil War?
Well, I think the Democrats are pushing the race issue extremely far. I had a black man at my door the other day. I don't have an issue with race, but they're making it such a big issue. They're making it, you know, just even with this Claudia Gay, that she was asked to resign from this college in Harvard. It's not a race issue, but they're making it that, and I don't agree with that.
What about the Civil War in the 1800s? What do you think was the cause of that?
Oh, yeah, that was slavery, wasn't it?
Seems that way. What do you think caused the Civil War?
Probably the division of states and the people.
Over what?
Well, right now they're trying to take the people's right to vote away. I mean, if you're in Colorado, and I think Trump probably actually won Colorado, whether it says it on paper or not. Like I said, I've watched a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of voter fraud, a lot of when you can't control all the write-in ballots and stuff like that. You know, the sad part about it is Trump actually told us before this even happened, this is what they were going to do, and they did it. I mean, I know a pile of people, and I drove.
Do you think that we're on the precipice of another civil war?
Not that we're going to start a war, but I think people are going to get fed up, and I think, you know, there was riots in the street how many years ago, crazy everywhere, and I think that could happen again, maybe in a bigger scale.
But also, like even like you mentioned, Minneapolis, the George Floyd thing, that was all set up too.
How was that set up?
That police officer didn't have his knee on the neck.
Did you see the video?
No, I didn't see the video.
What was the cause of the U.S. Civil War? The podcasters, the Young Turks, were on the ground in Sioux City, Iowa on January the 5th, 2024, talking to MAGA Trump supporters, asking them this very simple question. As you saw, most of them had no clue of what started the U.S. Civil War. Now, the U.S. Civil War was April 12, 1861 until April 1865. Now, remember that January 2024, that was the month after December 2023, when Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley, former governor of South Carolina, got into trouble during a campaign event when she was asked the very simple question of what was the cause of the U.S. Civil War, and she did not say it was slavery, even though Nikki Haley was the former governor of South Carolina, which is where the U.S. Civil War started, April 12, 1861. Now, the real reason why the Civil War began and why it was fought was over slavery. Okay, so Abraham Lincoln became president-elect November 6, 1860. This was about 6 weeks before South Carolina became the first state to secede from the Union, December 20th, 1860. There were a number of events that led up to the U.S. Civil War beginning on April 12, 1861, with the attack on Fort Sumter. But basically, The South thought Lincoln was going to free the slaves. President Abraham Lincoln was the presidential candidate of the newly formed Republican Party, which was formed in 1854. The Republican Party was formed as a direct backlash to what's known as the Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854, which was a law passed by Congress which would have allowed the westward expansion of slavery. And we know the Republican Party was against the westward expansion of slavery. You had other things contributing to the Civil War starting as well, like the Dred Scott decision of 1857, where the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that the Missouri Compromise of 1820 was unconstitutional because it deprived slaveholders of their Fifth Amendment right to due process. You also had the Uncle Tom's Cabin of 1852, the novel by Harriet Beecher Stowe, which exposed a lot of America to the horrors of slavery and galvanized the anti-slavery movement, the abolitionist movement. So at the root of the problems and the cause of the Civil War was slavery. And we know that the Civil War is not fought to end slavery. It was fought to bring the South back into the Union. So even though the Civil War was not fought to end slavery, it was fought to bring the South back into the Union. Ultimately, with the Emancipation Proclamation issued January 1st, 1863, it's going to change the course of the Civil War and change the purpose of the U.S. Civil War. And the purpose moves from bringing the South back into the Union to actually freeing the enslaved Africans. And keep in mind, the Emancipation Proclamation did not free the slaves in territories that stayed loyal to the Union, like Maryland, Missouri, Kentucky, and Delaware. They were exempt and were allowed to keep their slaves. Maryland, for instance, did not free their slaves until November 1st, 1864. It basically stated, the Emancipation Proclamation basically stated that the slaves in territories of rebellion would be freed on January 1st, 1863, if those territories did not come back into the Union. So actually, it didn't free the slaves in the South because the Union had no authority over the states that seceded and joined the Confederate States of America. Now, the Missouri Compromise of 1820 was a bill that passed Congress and was signed into law in 1820 by President James Monroe. And this was designed to organize the land that the U.S. got from the Louisiana Purchase of 1803, the 828,000 square miles of land. This bill allowed Missouri to come into the Union as a slaveholding state and allowed Maine to come into the Union as a free state because they tried to keep a balance between slaveholding states and free states. And it also abolished slavery in the rest of the Louisiana Territory north of the 3630 parallel. Well, this came up in the 1857 Dred Scott decision, and the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that the Missouri Compromise of 1820 was unconstitutional because it robbed slaveholders of their Fifth Amendment right to due process. So these are some of the events and laws that led to the Civil War taking place. But once again, the main reason why the Civil War was fought was over the fight of slavery, and the South thought that Lincoln was going to free the slaves. This is why those 11 states seceded from the Union, starting with South Carolina, and formed the Confederate States of America. I'm historian and national political commentator Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network. Follow me on Facebook and Fanbase at the African History Network, YouTube and Instagram, Michael Imhotep. Visit my website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Register for my online classes on Saturdays, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Right now, it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. Peace. Did you know that the Washington Monument is based upon an ancient African structure called a Tekken that comes from the mythology of Asar, Arset, and Heru, who the Greeks called Osiris, Isis, and Horus? Did you know that the panther deity Bast in the movie Black Panther and Wakanda Forever comes from an ancient African deity, a Neter, in ancient Egypt, ancient Kemet, called Bastet? Did you know that there were 17 pyramids found buried underneath Egypt around 2011? Also, The city of Memphis, Tennessee. What's the relationship between Memphis, Tennessee and Memphis in ancient Egypt? I'm historian and national political commentator Michael Imhotep. Be sure to register for my new 12-week online history course, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Kemet is one of the original names for Egypt. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. Did you know that the word Wakanda is a real word? We find it in the Key Congo language, which is a Bantu language, but we also find it in the Omaha Ponca and Sioux Indian Native American languages. My class starts up Saturday, March 1st, 2025, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is a 12-week online history course. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. When we talk about the transatlantic slave trade, we can't start our studying of the history in 1619 in Hampton, Virginia, or in Jamestown. We can't start in 1441 with the transatlantic slave trade starting with the Portuguese. We have to deal with thousands of years of history that leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. We'll deal with the 800-year occupation of Europe by the Africans known as the Moors, who take the teachings from the Nile Valley region of Africa into Europe, and this is what brings Europe out of the Dark Ages. We'll talk about ancient African empires, whether we deal with ancient Nubia, whether we deal with Kush, Kemet, Mali, Songhai, Ghana. This is a 12-week online history course. We deal with 80 to 100 articles. There are 200 slides that I show you in the class. There are video clips. There are 15 books that we reference. You don't have to buy any of the books to follow along in class. It's a very visual class, so we show you all that information right on the screen. The class is PG-13 as well, so you can use this with your children. Download my lesson plan from my website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Register right now. Right now, it's correct strong behaviors, not over till we win. Wakanda forever. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We'll see you in class. Peace.
Is your child struggling with reading, writing, learning loss, and a culturally irrelevant curriculum? Do you want your child to be outstanding at reading and writing and also take pride in their culture? Then you want Reading Revolution Online. Reading Revolution Online is a web-based reading support program. We serve scholars in grades K through 8, and through our innovative approach, we help them build reading confidence and cultural identity development, equipping them for success in school and life. They learn about Black heroes and sheroes through captioned videos, reading selections, and other activities. Reading Revolution Online is an experience for the whole family. Do it for the culture. Go to readingrevolution.org and get your membership today.